What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of the Soft Dump in the Corner podcast, presented to you by North Six Sports. Excuse me, big one here today. We got a fun one here for you guys. We've got Alex Livingston, owner and proud card collector of the Loot Kingdom. As I'm sure many of you have seen us over the course of the past couple of years, doing a large support in terms of getting trading cards in, trading cards out, giving you guys some knowledge on what's going on in the background there. And we thought, Luke and I thought, what better way to get our boy, our guy, our supplier, if you will, our supplier on the streets,
dealer,
our dealer into the action here today. So first and foremost, Nutsy, Luke, welcome back to the podcast, buddy. How was the day today?
Not too bad. I had the day off of work. Not much was happening. Played a little Spidey. That game is actually unreal. I know this isn't sports related, but that game is ridiculous.
So you really didn't get up to much today.
Cool,
yeah. Other than that, just cleaned up around the house, and that was about it.
So you burned a lot of calories today, is what you're trying to tell the people.
Yeah, tons.
Love it.
You're heading into the cold winter months. Going to be tip top shape, aren't you?
Oh yeah, I'll be coming out looking like a barrel.
Yeah, sizing up in the t-shirt.
Yeah,
and just moving on here. So the voice you hear there, Alex Livingston. Welcome everybody to welcome Alex to the show. It's a big one for us. Like I said, it's going to be a fun one. It's something that we've, the three of us have kind of talked about. We wanted to do for a really long time. It's an interest that all three of us are connected by, whether that's sports cards, trading card games, etc. So we thought maybe it'd be a pretty good idea to bring you on, just kind of give the people a little bit of a background knowledge. You obviously kind of have that sort of professional side, if you will, you want to call that, in terms of what you're in and around all the time, what you've been around a lot. So Alex, welcome to the show.
Thanks, fellas. It's a pleasure to be here. I appreciate you inviting me on. I've been watching you guys. You guys know a hell of a lot about sports. And when you guys were coming into the shop and I was first getting to know you guys, I've learned a lot from listening to the Soft Dump in the corner. So I appreciate all your efforts. And it's looking like it's a pretty good podcast. So I'm proud to be here. Proud to be here, gentlemen.
Yeah. Appreciate the support. Goes a long way. It makes us think that we at least know a little bit here and there. But yeah, man, like I said, I really appreciate all that you've done for us, helping us get into the game and sort of get acquainted to that. So, right back at you there. So I guess first and foremost, I'll kind of lead the way here. Do you want to just give a quick little background on what you do, who you are, tell the people, that are listening and viewing here what you're all about?
Yeah, I'm Alex Livingstone. I've been in Barrie for about close to 25 years now. I opened up Loot Kingdom about middle of 2021. I started a business tail end of COVID. No financial advisor is going to tell you that's a smart thing to do, but I jumped into it. My hometown is Cobourg. It's a big hockey town back there, and grew up there. Moved from basically Scarborough to Cobourg, and that's when I started collecting cards and really kind of getting into it. I was I probably was in grade 7 when I bought my first couple packs of cards, and it was like late 80s by then. I'm old, gentlemen, and and so that took me right into that what eventually spiraled into me owning a store. But it's not the full-time job. I also work for a company called River Birch Global Water. I spent 20 years in water treatments, and I now I lead the business development department for that company, and we produce water and wastewater systems. So this is more of an enterprise of love and passion, and I appreciate the hobby, and I've been around sports the whole time. So, I mean, these dudes are hardcore sports players behind me. You wouldn't know it. Put skates on Pikachu. He's lightning quick.
Ooh, that's a good one. I like that. That's a good pun right there.
Leader in Pimmies right here for sure.
Yeah, I love it. I love it, man. I guess first and foremost, Alex, just in terms of TCG trading card games for everyone that's listening out there, your Pokemon, your Yu-Gi-Ohs, etc. of the world there, and even just sports cards as a whole. Like, why is the popularity growing now? Obviously, back in your day, if you will, I won't age you too much on that one, I hope.
That's right.
But we all know back in the day, baseball cards, hockey cards, like that was a big deal, especially when, Luke and I, like our parents were growing up and just kind of getting an idea of some of the people that, used to collect and still do collect, like why all of a sudden now, maybe post COVID, why now is the popularity growing in TCG, in sports and cards in general?
Well, I think you got to take a step back and remember that at the bottom of cards and those kind of sports cards and TCGs, it's a collectible, right? So collectibles have been a cyclical way of consumers to spend their money and acquire something that they feel is going to grow in value, right? So this has been around since, back in the day when our grandparents and grandparents were collecting antiques, right? So antiques are the original form of collectibles. They as it goes by, people don't want an old lamp sitting around. They don't want a bookshelf. They might want a first edition novel or like a really rare coin. But beyond that, a lot of people look for something that's tangible, that means something to them, and they gravitate to it and they want to hold on to that. So keeping that in mind, you couple that with something like sports. So sports is it's been a center of memorabilia and collectibles from the inception of when Babe Ruth was swinging the bat. Like people were fighting over his stuff back then, gloves and all that old stuff. And it just kind of, when it hit about the I want to say the 40s and 50s, post World War II, there was really a boom that started with cards, and then people really wanted those cards back then. And so there's a lot of interesting history when it comes to sports cards post World War II and the rarity of them. There's actually back in there, like Willie Mays and those era of ball players. A lot of the cards from that area of post World War II were discarded. They were dumped. They were thought to be not a lot of value there. And that really took a large number of printed cards and produced them to be a short amount. And as these people grew up, they're like, I remember that time. I want this Jackie Robinson. I want this Willie Mays, this Yogi Berra. And I want to remember what was good for me back then. And you keep that mentality as it goes through. And it is cyclical, right? So it's a high, and then there's a low, and then there's a high, and then there's a low. So that kind of went through the 80s, 70s, 80s. Back in the early 80s, people were pining over a Gretzky rookie card like they were, in later in life, essentially in the mid 2000s. Really was when like people are going crazy over those Gretzky's. But it's just people want to gravitate to something that it's tangible, that means something to them, and they want to collect it. And one of the smallest and easiest ways to do that, and funnest ways, is through a card, a sports card, little piece of paper that's got some stats on it, and it brings you back to when you might have watched your hero play, right? Mm-hmm. And so carry all that rambling forward to when you got the perfect storm of COVID. People are locked inside. They have money. There's been government giving them money, and they were looking for something to spend. So they start ordering stuff on eBay. They start ordering stuff online, something they can open, just to enjoy at home because they can't go anywhere. And so it really spiraled from there. And so what we're seeing right now is actually a little bit of that peak drop off, just because the economics have changed so much in the last couple of years. A lot of less capital out there for people to spend. And it's been popular. It's always going to be popular, just because it's not like it was during COVID. It's going to be popular. It's always popular. It's just ebbs and flows. If that makes sense.
Love that, man. No, I do. You made a lot of really good points. I actually really like the comparison to like the antiques and what our grandparents, what our parents and stuff, just kind of the collection concept. Obviously, like you said, there's trends in this world. Obviously, they ebbs and flows. Everything will correspond to that. But I just think today's day and age, with just our attention span being so small too, and the way that our trends change from what seems day to day, from week to week, and just what is trending, what isn't nowadays, you can just start to see, especially, and we're going to get into that too, just in terms of pricing and what it is today may not be what it is tomorrow, all that kind of talk there. But that was a great example in terms of how you relate to the antique side of things being what it is today, and how it transitioned from what it used to be and how it is today from there, right? So yeah, that was really neat. I love that.
Yeah, I was just gonna jump on that and say Like, in your collection growing up, like, what did you have? What was the big cards that, I don't know if you still have them, but like if there was cards maybe down the road that could have been worth tons and tons of money, what did you have in your PC?
Oh yeah, so I had a huge collection when I was young, right? So I also went through a house fire when I was in grade 10. So
Ooh,
basically, we'll set the stage. I moved to Coburg when I was in grade 7. Didn't really know a whole lot of people. Would spend my money and from my paper route on like you know hockey cards, baseball cards, basketball cards, whatever I could. I'd buy cards from neighbors and other kids and just acquire what I could at that age. And that was about 87, 88. And then from there, I moved when I went to high school. I met one of my long-term buddies that's a good buddy still today, and his parents owned Sluggers memorabilia. So it was like, a huge chain back in the 90s of sports card stores, right? So that really spiraled my collection, but I was well on the way to having hundreds and thousands of dollars in my collection. So
oh my
I
god.
did have an MJ. It was a
Ooh.
year or two. wasn't a rookie card or anything like that, but I don't
Okay.
even know what that would be worth now. I don't look up those. I had a ton of the old hockey players. I had oh man, like let me think. I had I'm thinking back to the 84, 85, 86 O-Pee-Chee series. So I had like Eiserman rookies. I had just a ton of just sitting there, a whole big whack of them. And as that kind of grew, I kept them in my or in my room, which was in the basement. And the house fire started in my parents' room, literally burnt right through my basement and to my
That's
bedroom
awful.
room, and it just disintegrated everything. So beyond that hockey card thing, I actually had a ton of comic books. So I had like very early Amazing Spider-Man. I had like Daredevil's very first issue. I had Venom's first issue. I had so many good
Oh
collectibles
wow.
beyond just the sports cards. And
Yeah.
I had coin collections and all that. And it was all gutted totally. But yeah, thanks for bringing it up, Jordo.
Nothing like bringing back old memories, eh?
Uh,
Man, that's too bad. Like even just to kind of top on that one, just kind of bring a little light to it. Do you remember your first auto?
My very first auto, yeah, it was Johnny Oldroyd. It was a tops card. It was his rookie card, and it was like the auto wasn't collected. It was like, hey Johnny, sign this for me, and he used to sign everything. My buddy who owned the sports card store, his parents did, were best friends with Ernie Witt, and so they had a ton of connections with the Blue Jays back then, and it was pretty easy to get stuff signed. So
nice.
It's pretty
yeah,
interesting how, regardless of the popularity of the card, regardless of what card it is, you always remember your first auto, right? Clear as
totally.
day. Like I can sit here and I remember I was in football, it was Illusions Pack 2020, Cornell Powell, wide receiver of the Chiefs.
Cornell
Here I
Powell.
am thinking this rookie of the Chiefs, Patty Mahomes, like this guy's going to blow up. He's got the best quarterback in the world right now. I'm out of like
Like
just
this, yeah.
sitting there thinking, oh my God, I'm on $1 million, right? But he doesn't even make the NFL the next season. He's having a tough time. I think right now he might be on their practice squad roster, but
Yeah.
that card is near and dear to my heart. My first ever auto, I remember like Luke was there too. The first time I pulled that, like it was a big deal, right? What
I
about you,
love it.
Luke? What was your first auto you pulled? I can't remember.
I was just thinking about it. I actually have no clue.
Come on.
I know. I'm trying to think. I was thinking while you guys were talking about it, I'm like, oh, he's gonna ask me 100% what it is. I can't even shoot.
Well, how about for
Yeah,
the meantime, because I'm going to jump into this for the sake of keeping it rolling here. You think about
yeah,
that. You let us know about that. I wanted to go into just kind of branching off the popularity concept there, Alex,
Mhm.
and just sort of go, obviously you can touch on TCG here too, absolutely, because you can kind of speak on that a little bit better than we can,
Sure.
fill in the audience on that. But talking about seasons alone. So we're talking just in general, just the sports years, whether it's baseball, football, hockey, you name it, whatever the sport as a whole. What is the main reason you would find, other than the mere sake that people are watching at the time, in terms of the ebbs and flow from when you should buy or when you should sell a card, just to kind of give people a little bit of a better understanding if there's a better time of the year to buy, whether it's hockey cards versus football. Right now, obviously, baseball just finished the other day or the other night there. Is there a good time, or do you feel that maybe you can capitalize on good sales, good buying, good selling? Like, give us a little bit of your feedback on when you should buy, when you should sell, that type of thing there.
Yeah, we'll touch. I'll touch on both of them from the TCG world and the sports card world. So we'll hit the sports card world first. I mean, it's based. Jordan, you're right. It's there is time to capitalize. Certainly, a lot of it's based around the hype, right? So you look at the build up for hockey with Connor Bedard. Everyone knew he was going there, and everyone was like, okay. They're wanting to in those moments as the season's coming up and the hype starting. People are looking to acquire, right? They're like they want to cash in, they want to get in cheap, they want to get those stocks in, those stonks in at the lowest price. So you might be looking at for a hockey season, for acquiring season to start. You're looking at probably August is really a good month to buy hockey. If you're looking to buy and then carry it through the season in hopes that they're going to appreciate, yeah, August is when it starts. Obviously, people start buying hockey through August, September, October, and then right through to November. And now we've got young guns coming from the previous year and all that kind of stuff. So that continues on. So you can do the same thing with each sport. So we'll move back to before spring camp for NFL, right? So July is a good time to start buying NFL cards low. I mean, now you don't really want to you don't want to buy any Panini cards because of the issues that have arisen from that. But I mean, the same thing with baseball, right? So baseball's a little trickier. Baseball's almost a year-round thing. That's almost a topic in itself for another podcast because baseball rookies aren't built the same as NFL basketball and like hockey ones, right? They are years behind because you got a kid who gets drafted, but he doesn't play for 3 years, right? So you got to have that foresight, and it's really cool to see baseball fans be able to hone into that kind of thing because they watch these guys from when they're 16 and 17 acquire their Bowman first flagship rookie card. Then they hold it until it gets into they hit the big time, right? And they might burn out really quickly in the first year, but they might be able to capitalize on loading it in that term. So for baseball, I mean, it's in the springtime. You want to buy, or right now you could start buying baseball if you wanted, and then sell them in the springtime, right?
Yeah. So no, I love it. That's real good points. Yeah, real good points, 100%.
And then for TCGs, Pokemon's an anomaly. Pokemon goes strictly over collectability, right? So you're wanting short print or rare cards that come out of a box of guys like Charizard, who's a favorite, and those kind of things. But for other TCGs where people are actively playing it, the cards appreciate in value as they reach meta or they leave the meta game, right? So depending on if it's like Yu-Gi-Oh or Flesh and Blood or Pokemon or like Digimon or something like that, those cards can be one day worth $3, and then if it reaches the meta deck, it could be worth 50 or $60, right? And then if people need a play set of them, you're staring at like $250 in cards just with having a hit meta.
And just super quick, just for those listening and even myself, could you just kind of in a quick summation, like what makes meta? What is meta when it gets to that?
Meta is when they change the cards that are either Magic's a good example. Well, Magic's a terrible example actually. So when a card game's really popular, they'll ban certain cards and they'll produce new cards or they'll reprint cards, right? And they'll do these things in order to switch up the game so everyone's not playing with the same deck. So meta is basically the current most competitive build of a deck or a game or whatever, right? So whatever they're introducing to the card, if they bring in a new archetype for like say Yu-Gi-Oh, and it makes a couple dated cards more powerful because they brought in this archetype, then those cards are going to be brought to the meta deck or the meta game and become relevant when they weren't. Sorry, that was way too long, but
no, like I said, there's going to be a lot of people, much like myself, that maybe aren't as knowledgeable, as in depth on that. So I figured just to kind of make sure people are following along if they're listening here, and just to get a full understanding of what you did there, right? So yeah, thanks. That's good. That's real good.
To check value, let's say you pull a card that you think has value. Where is the best place to go check? Like,
well,
eBay.
It used to be Beckett. So Beckett, like back in the day, would produce something like this, the Beckett guidebook, and you'd leaf through it, and you'd say, you pull out your bifocals like me, I'm getting old, and look up the line and say it's very fine or it's, near mints. And then I check it that way. But now it's chaotic out there, right? So
Yeah.
what you want to do is you want to look at the card and you want to determine what you're happy with getting for the value, right? So there are cards that you'll get top dollar for. The top dollar would be like for really short prints because there is only a small comparative a group that you can price them with. But if you're talking like even a young gun, when Bedard comes out and they're finally accessible, I mean the value is going to be all over the place. Some people are going to be happy taking $200. Some people are going to want to hold for $800, right? So you can't say
Right.
it's worth $800 even though one guy paid for it when 20 are selling for $400, right? So just find your medium, find what you're happy with, and draw a line on it because it's all over the map. The best place to kind of look for sports cards is eBay. See where they're selling at, the current trend. Beyond that, you could set your own hard price, man. It's all entirely up to you.
Right.
Yeah, I know, 100%. It's more perceived value, right? At the end of the
Well,
day,
yeah.
like if
I mean,
somebody, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, just to jump in, continue to that. Like, so you look at the TCG. So on TCG Player, there's like, it's almost a new product comes out. People scramble and rip it open for the rare cards. They post them online, and it's a race to the bottom. So the first person throws it up at $200. The next person's at 190, and then about 3 days later, it's at $40 because people just keep undercutting themselves. Now there's a whole other branch to that, depending on if you want to go hard into the economics of it. Our market in Canada is much more tiny than the United States market, right? So you got guys who are buying NFL cards for a lot of money in Canada, but there's 30,000 more vendors down in the United States. So you could theoretically get it much cheaper in the States and vice versa with hockey and those kind of things. So the market really changes the scope of where the price sits.
Interesting.
That's, I mean, that's actually a really good point. It's something that I never
Yeah.
really even considered, to be honest with you. It's a really good point. So buy your cards in the States is what you're saying.
buy everything in the States and sell it up in Canada. We know
Forget
that.
everything I told you on going to Loot Kingdom. I refer you all to Walmart when you're in the States down south. Buying your 12 case of beer for $12.99. Go ahead and buy a hobby box at the same time.
Go out and then sell your case of beer up here for $30, right?
That's right. Yeah. Profit and margin. I love that. I'm going to just jump in here. Another one, just kind of briefly going off on that. Let's talk card grading, right?
Okay.
So obviously there are so many different vendors, if you call it, or competitors out there, if you want to call it that way, from your Beckett's to your, PSAs to your MNTs to your, you name it, right? I want you just to kind of give us, I'm going to ask you, I'm going to kind of full circle this. I'll let you kind of take it away here, but like, how would, I'm just going to ask it literally. So like, how would I know, or how would one know what card I should grade? Who should I send this card to? Why should I grade versus is it better if you take that card and keep it raw being ungraded for those that are listening? Who are the best companies out there in terms of name? You want to just kind of fill the audience in a couple, I know I asked quite a few questions there, but just in a broad spectrum of, as someone who may be new to the game or new to collecting, whatever, how would they know where to go, when to do it? How would they get that likes of information?
It's a great bunch of questions there, Jordo. It really boils down to two things. So first you got to ask yourself, what is your goal with your card? Are you looking to keep it or are you looking to flip it and make money? True. So with those two things in mind, it really becomes irrelevant. If you just want to keep it, you could grade it to collect it and just hold it in your kind of collection at home. It keeps it pristine, gives you an idea of its flaws, and allows you to pick it up and take a place to show it off and be proud that it's protected, and it looks pretty cool in a lot of the slabs. But then if you're looking to just get something and get it graded and try to sell it and maximize it, then that's a totally different avenue you can take. So for somebody who doesn't know what they want to do, they kind of want to start with that question, really. So just figure out what's your goal with the card. And then you kind of move into where you're going to get it graded, which is, again, it's it's a huge ball of wax. So we can start with the top tier companies, Beckett, BGS, and PSA. So those two companies are pretty much the main conglomerates in sports car grading. So there are two different types of graders. So Beckett has a larger point scale grading system, and they offer subgrades. Subgrades being a grade on your corners, your surface, your centering, and your edging. And PSA does not offer that. For some reason, there's been a real focus on PSA, as I guess they've had a stranglehold on the sheer market of graded cards out there. So they have the most out there. So when people choose a grader like PSA, they want to necessarily grade it to flip it, to make money, right? Because it becomes kind of like the main standard across the board. And Beckett becomes more of a long-term serious collector's item because they can see the flaws in the card, and it's it's Beckett. They're renowned for sports and sports memorabilia grading, vintage cards, so it's a mainstay in that. And then anything below that becomes your buyer's discretion, really. So I have a couple favorites that aren't MNT, or sorry, that aren't PSA or Beckett, that I grade with, and I'm happy with the way they look, and they sell relatively well, and that's kind of what I go for. Yeah.
Super
I'm
quick
not sure if I hit
to
everything for you, but
No, that was really good. I was going to say, just in your opinion, do you find, and this could vary based on the collector, of course, but do you find in terms of subgrade versus standard grade that is something that you would be focused on, or does it so much matter to you think to the majority? Like for me personally, I want to know if I send a card in, why would I get a 9.5 or why would I get a 10, right? What are my corners? What are the exacts? I feel like that may be more valuable information to a buyer as opposed to, oh, my card is a 9, but I might look at this and see a big dent in the corner. I might see a big scrape on the face, whatever it might be. Do you find that that's something that sways your opinion on that topic?
yeah. So it's in my opinion, it's serious collectors want subgrades. So plain and simple, like for the exact reasons that you said, they want to know what they bought, and if they're serious about the product, that holding on to that long term and looking at it and cherishing it as they would, they want to know where the flaws are, right? So I've seen plenty of PSA cards get graded, and everyone has, where they're clearly not a 10, but they're not a 9 either, right? So you're looking at it and you know full well it's not going to be a 10, because it wouldn't even be a 9.5 a subgrader, because they tell you, no, you're all effed up in the corners of the edges and all that kind of stuff, right? So it's one of those things where 110% makes a difference to me. And I think in the long term of a collectability, those things should be very important. Now, I'll just touch on that real quick. There is some disagreements in the circles of grading, where people feel that that a quad grade system, like subgrade, can really deter the value of a 10 per se of a PSA and stuff like that. So it almost changes the full economy of it, because you look at the populations of what would be a 10, and now you look at the subgrades of what are not a 10, and now you're like the 10s are kind of devalued when it comes to PSA, because you see so many more 9.5s in this category, and people don't like that, right? They'd rather just a flat grade so they can maximize their value for it and say this is a 10, even though it's not really a 10.
Yeah.
I just want to jump in quick on that. Yeah. I've actually seen some videos lately where there's been like some huge inconsistencies between PSA and Beckett, where guys would go grade it, they'd get like a PSA 6, they'd break the slab, resubmit it, and get like an 8, 8.5 with or 8 with Beckett. So I'm just kind of like, yeah, I've seen it like a lot recently. I just thought maybe it was just like a one-off with the one video I saw, but I saw a few of those. I'm just like, I wonder what the process is. Yeah, like I've seen a few come in. There's a big group called the Backyard Breaks. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you guys have all heard of them. They're huge, especially into football. And one of the guys, what was he grading? He was grabbing the one with the tie-dye in the background, with like the horizontal card of Trevor Lawrence.
Oh yeah, the Kaboom.
Yeah, and
something like that. Yeah.
it came out as a PSA 6, and he went to regrade, and it came out as an 8.5 from Beckett, and that's a huge jump.
Okay,
Like that.
so a little to jump in on that, no card coming out of a pack should be graded a PSA 6. So chances are this
Yeah,
guy looked at this and was like, you know what, that's no way it should be a PSA. It shouldn't
yeah,
be a 6. So
yeah.
rule of thumb is always fresh out of the pack, it should be around an 8, right?
Right.
If their quality control is decent enough, and we've seen shit a lot of the time, you're not going to get a card that's less than an 8 straight out of a pack, or you shouldn't. And if it is, there's guaranteed visual flaws that would make you question why would you grade it in the first place, right?
Yeah,
That makes sense. So, when you like you if we're using Panini or Chrome cards as an example, right? In this Kaboom one, there could have been dimples in it and there could have been scratching or scuffing on it. And you should be able to pick that up, right?
yeah,
So, I mean,
yeah,
chances are I would say PSA aired on that, and that's why this guy cracked it and got an 8,
yeah.
right?
That's what I'm thinking too. It's just
Yeah.
crazy.
Got
But
vintage is a whole different story, right? So you could
yeah,
get a vintage card and have it be a 6, a 5, a 4, but it's been out of the pack for a long time, right?
do they grade a little easier with vintage cards, or is it the same process?
I would say yes, PSA does.
Yeah.
Beckett, not so much. They built their brand on vintage. So Beckett primarily has been around the memorabilia department and had a stranglehold on it for a long, long time, right? So
Okay.
they've always graded really hard on vintage. And I know a lot of collectors that I know personally wouldn't send a vintage card anywhere but Beckett.
Okay.
Yeah.
And one last question, just to
Yeah.
jump on: is there any advantages to keeping it raw versus graded? Like,
There is.
yeah.
So primarily, there are a bunch of collectors out there that don't want their cards graded. So
Okay.
keep that in mind. There's always a buy. You'll always have a buyer for a card that's raw. You
Okay.
might not get the maximum value what you're looking for because it's not graded as a 10, but you're going to
Right.
find a buyer for a raw card. So the easiest way to move cards is leave them raw. Let the person who buys it make that decision if they're going to grade it or not, and don't
Got
put
it.
it on you, right? Because remember, if you grade a card, it doesn't come back where you're out that money. So now your value in that card has substantially been cut in half if you paid 50 to $75 to get it graded, right?
Makes sense.
So
Absolutely.
it's all about that kind of thing and then balancing those kind of things. But yeah, and beyond that, if there's like any visual flaws to it, don't get it graded. If you think it's going to be less than an 8, don't get it graded. Sell it as an 8, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
And even one on that, and I'm sure Alex, Luke, you've both been in the same situation as me. If you're selling cards, tell people that there's a little bit of a nick. Tell people, show people in the pictures that there's a little bit of a nick or a corner edge, whatever is scuffed up, is marked, whatever. The more that you're upfront and honest, the more likely they're gonna not be pissed off if they open up that card and think, the pictures and your description made it seem like, this card that my intentions of buying and getting graded are nowhere near what you said and sold to me. So that's my little pro tip to jump in there and act like I know what I'm talking about is tell people or show people, be upfront and honest. If you make it seem like you're selling them a card that's a 9 and they think, wow, it's closer to a 9.5, actually, it doesn't look as bad as I thought. At least you told them and they know.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than buying a card and then you get a nick or a dent that they say is in perfect mint condition. And that,
Yeah.
you just get a card and you're like, well, I wouldn't have bought that same one, or I would have spent a couple extra bucks to get the other one.
So do
Yeah.
you remember?
A lot of the mix up is like people don't realize the scale, even with verbiage when it comes to cards. So near mint is 8, mint is 9, gem mint is 10, and pristine mint is
Perfect.
black label, right? Perfect. So I mean, people need to really hone into that. So if I'm listing a card on eBay and it says near mint to mint, it's somewhere between an 8 and a 9, right? That's what I feel. And but a lot of people will see near mint and be like, oh, this isn't near mint. Near mint should be a 9. And I'm like, well, no, it shouldn't. But when you're in that deep in a transaction, especially on eBay, and you guys know what I'm talking about, you can't really dispute it, right? So you got to refund them and move on your merry way or do whatever, right? So it becomes a challenge.
I
Do
love
you
that.
guys remember my McKinnon rookie card, the Young Guns I had with the little nick in the back?
Yeah.
So I sold the card, and I told him about it, and he didn't care because it was for like a PC collection. I got $275 for it. It's not bad.
No.
So I was like, I thought that was a win for me, but I felt bad. I said, hey, there's a smallest like nick on the bottom right side of it. And he goes like, he goes, I'm gonna be PCing it anyways. So I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah, no, that's great. I love it. There's all really good points, like you said, right? As we always go back to, it's all perceived value. Kind of draws in transitions perfectly to my next question here, Alex, is like collections versus singles, right? Obviously, we just touched on, like Luke just pointed out, right? That guy
Yeah.
was drawn on that card. He wanted it. He needed it. He's got that full collection. He's a collector of a player, a team, a year, like you name it, whatever, right? Just quick touch base on like collections versus singles, excuse me. Is that something that you focus on? I know you do. I've seen plenty of your collections that are, in mint shape in your binders or whatever there, but just in terms of like pros and cons of each. Another thing too, just the best ways to preserve and keep safe. I hate bringing up the fire story, but there wasn't much you could do there. But just in terms of how would you do that? Like, what are the best ways? Tell the people the best ways that you can say, how do I preserve
Okay, it's a nice little product here for after we get done this, but
Yeah.
I'll segue into that. Collections versus singles. So it all depends on what you really want. So if you're looking at a TCG or like a Marvel card, those are primarily something you're going to want the whole set of. At least this is how I feel, right? So when I collect some Marvel cards, and I love Marvel cards, I want the whole flick. I want the whole set. I want everything. But then when I gravitate to a sports card, I don't need series 1, 2, series 2 and extended of upper deck cards, right? I don't need all 800 commons. Just give me the young guns, give me the short prints I want, and I'm happy with that. When it comes to selling cards, again, it differs. So if you're selling sports cards, your sports card collection, if it's a complete collection, isn't going to be intrinsically more valuable as a complete collection. It's going to be only valuable as the top hitters in that collection, right? So a complete set of Upper Deck Series 1 isn't going to be exponentially more valuable because it's complete. It's going to be about as much value as Ridley Greig's card right now, or somebody else in that's doing well, right? And that's about it, because people are going to pluck those cards and probably chuck the rest, right? So remember that if you're looking to sell a complete set in sports cards, that unless it's I should preface that by saying if it's a short print set, right, that's going to be worth a little bit more. But if it's complete set, a lot of people are just going to handpick the ones that are worth a lot and then, chuck the rest.
And just super quick, just for people that maybe don't understand the terminology and language there, can you just kind of briefly talk on like short print and different variations?
Okay, yeah. Short print is any card or insert that has been produced to be a special pull out of a box. These come in variations like image changes, error cards if it's baseball, special refractors if it's baseball or football or basketball. And then SSPs are usually a combination of those kind of things where it's like an image variation as well as being a numbered card or a numbered serial card and those kind of things, right? I mean, serial cards are always the easiest way to determine if you've got a short print or not, because it will say number / out of 999 or 199 or 1 of 1, right? So that's a good indicator. But there are cards out there that don't have a serial on them, and they are short prints. You just got to go and determine if they're valuable. A lot of them aren't valuable. They're just more or less to have something exciting come out of a pack. The ones that are serial numbered usually are worth more. So that makes sense.
And in terms of like preserving and keeping those safe, like obviously the best thing you would advise probably once you pull a card, top loader, sleeve, that type of deal there. Like in terms of ways to keep that safe, obviously, do you suggest binders? Do you suggest maybe different, I almost want to call them like holders, so to speak, or like what do you kind of suggest? Or does that all
Like
come down to the collector itself on what they perceive and how they feel, what they want to do to keep their card safe?
No, there's actually some good valid points to not keeping your cards in a binder. Keeping them upright in a binder with certain pages just hanging there, the pages do sag. So those bottom cards, depending on what they are, will sag against the bottom of your bookshelf, and over time they will damage. So in a valuable set, you usually don't put cards in an upright binder. If they're being opened a lot and being laid out flat and looked through a lot, that's a different story because they're up and down. But if you're grabbing like a bunch of cards that you love and they're very expensive and putting it on a bookshelf for 20 years, that's not a good idea.
Basically, I'll be right back, boys. I got to go grab my binders that are in my closet right now, vertically. No, that's good. That's good.
So beyond that, the ultimate way to keep your cards pristine is get them graded. So you get those cards graded, and they're in a plastic mold that you can whip around and drop from tables and like not worry about it. But it's usually, if you're opening a high price box of cards or hobby cards, quickly sleeving and top loading those cards immediately until you determine what you want to do with them in the long term is the best way to do it. Long term being, once again, graded. You can get cases like this. This is called a Zion case. Lovely little, this is for a single high quality grade of a card. It's a fire retarding case. So you'd put your Gretzky PSA 10 in here, seal it up, take it to your vaults, and it keeps it nice and protected. So you get a whole bunch of different versions of these. This one's got padlocks. It's the same type of deal. This has 10 cards graded. They get bigger and bigger. And when you go to shows, that's primarily what you see real collectors carrying around, a briefcase that's got all their grades in it, and they covered it pretty well, right? So
carrying around a couple boxing gloves.
Yeah, and ultimately, lots of people keep their cards at home, under their bed, or in their closet, in one of those things, right? So it's a good move.
I picked up a binder from Amazon. It's a top loader binder, so you put the top loaders into the sleeves.
Yep.
It's actually really mint. So I've been putting my rookies in there, like not maybe my big names, but just my desk. Too bad it's not wide zoom here because my desk's just full of cards everywhere. So I just need to get a couple of those binders and just organize it a bit because it's just chaos.
I've been meaning to bring some of those in the store. Yeah, so those have come out recently, as well as the cardboard boxes that fit top loaders as well. Those are another way to store your cards. Keep in mind you don't want to be putting them in anywhere damp when they're just in a cardboard box like that, because that will, the precipitation or the moisture will precipitate through the cardboard, and there will be water damage.
Yeah, no kidding, for sure.
I've got one more here. Luke, I'll obviously give you the floor here after this one, just super quick. But Alex, I just wanted to briefly talk about NFTs. And if you think there's a future for those, where they're at kind of currently, just super quick, just to kind of somewhat wrap it up. Like, do you think there's a future for NFTs? Obviously, we know what's going on with your cryptocurrencies of the world and all that. There's so much to take in these days. What's your take on NFTs?
So when we talk about NFTs, since we're all sports guys too, I'm going to assume we're talking about those moments that you can buy that are captured, whether it's through like the basketball platform or the UFC or the hockey football ones. I think there's something really unique about owning that moment, but the challenge around it is assessing a value or putting a value on something like that. So because people are going to be able to view that whenever they want. So do you really own it or do you not? Like, so the NFT concept is like, you own this moment. There's only 100 people that have this moment, but you only own it through the NFT market or space where you purchased it from, right? So if the world gravitates strictly to OpenSea or one of those NFT markets, and that's the only place they're getting it, then that NFT is going to be worth a shit ton. But long term, it's a little bit more tricky. I love the idea of it. I don't see it as a lasting replacement for a tangible asset like a graded card ever.
Yeah, okay. I got a couple questions.
So if you have to sell your NFTs,
I'm not invested in NFTs. I'd like everyone to know right now.
No,
I am not currently invested in NFTs. That is not something I plan on doing, and especially now. So for all you morons out there listening, think I've got a bunch of NFTs on my home screen of my desktop, you're absolutely wrong.
You should buy some.
Man, there's some sick like football catches and some sick dunks out there that I would love to be like. I do own some of them. I shouldn't say I shouldn't knock that bad, but
I didn't mean to call you a moron.
No, I had a lot of money back in COVID, and I was like spending it on stuff that I probably shouldn't have. So
I feel like it'd be better to just reach out to the NBA, NHL, NFL and be like, I want the rights to that footage.
yeah.
Like, sell me the rights to that Justin Jefferson one-handed catch against the Bills, please.
Yeah,
Like,
you gotta go to Fox for that kind of stuff, right? Like
that'll be my NFT. Sorry, Luke, go ahead.
Yeah, no, it's all good. I just have just a couple questions
Sure.
left here for me. This is more almost like a shout out for you guys at Loot Kingdom. Like, where are you guys located? What do you guys sell in the shop? What are the business hours? Just so people know if they want to come by and buy some stuff.
Yeah, great question. Thanks. We're located at 159A Ann Street South, Barrie, Ontario. It's an old building. It used to be the Hot Rock Shop. It's not a curling store, and we're in the same place it is now. So I'll do a quick pan. You can see a couple of cabinets behind us here, some binders. We sell sports cards and TCGs. We do sell some games and collectibles as well, like Funko Pops and chess sets and those kind of things. But beyond that, we're primarily, I'd say, about 70% cards. And you can get a variety of TCGs and sports cards here: baseball, hockey, basketball, football, and then Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh, Flesh and Blood, Marvel, Digimon. Yeah.
Nice.
So for anyone listening, perfect Christmas gift opportunities, some stocking stuffers. Please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you didn't catch any of that or want to learn more information. We'll gladly send you over to Alex's place. It's about a pitching wedge away from my place. So if you know where Jordo's place is, you know where Alex's place is.
I just want to offer up this too to some of your viewers and listeners. We're gonna raffle this off. So the Soft Dump boys are gonna. This is for you guys to give it to some of your.
I appreciate
your
that.
Your listeners, and hopefully you don't pull the stuff that I want out of it.
So for those that might be listening on the audio side of things, the podcast platform, Alex is generously offering off a hobby box of Series 1, 23, 24 there, yeah?
Right.
If I see that correctly, 23, 24 Series 1 hockey cards. So tons of good up-and-coming players in that one. So, first and foremost, thank you. We'll be in touch with how we're going to do that. We'll connect you through the socials on that one as well to make sure that you're not getting missing out. And obviously, like I said, we want to try and help direct. This was the main goal for us. Honestly, it's much as it's nice to learn this information and pass that on, Alex. You've done an awful lot for us, truthfully. We wanted to kind of help and give back to you. So I'm hoping this gives you a little bit of exposure as well, even if it brings you in, like I said, a couple people looking for some Christmas gifts, getting some information on this type of stuff. Maybe you're looking to get some graded cards, etc. Hopefully they can use the information that they learned today and pass that along through your knowledge and give you some business at the store as well. So thank you again, man.
Yeah, that's I would like to actually do one more thing I was thinking about on the way down here. If you guys come in, any of your listeners, and do come in and want 15% off the store purchase, you just got to use the code Soft Dump and just come in.
Love
right?
it.
So just come into Loot Kingdom and drop a Soft Dump and get 15% off.
Awesome.
Promo
That's
code
amazing.
Soft Dump for 15%. Shout out N6 Sports and Loot Kingdom. I love it, man. Thank you. We'll definitely make sure that gets passed along. Then you can
It goes for you boys too, right? So if you guys want to come in, and I know Luke hasn't spent any money on wax lately, so we got to get him in here.
I got to get into it.
I love that.
Have you opened any of those boxes yet? Have you pulled anything?
I've only opened one. A buddy of mine, we were going to each open a case.
Damn.
So I'm kind of holding off for him.
Nice.
Yeah. Damn.
Nice.
But I do. There's a couple cards I want in here. It's actually turning out to be not a bad box at all.
It is.
Right?
It is.
You called it on Evangelista there, buddy. So I got to give you that too, man. Good call.
Jordo knows. Luke, you got anything else that you wanted to touch base on there on your end? I know we kind of tackled quite a bit there.
For me, no, I think we've covered everything. I just want to say, thanks again for jumping on with us. This is a great opportunity.
Anytime, boys. It's a lot of fun. I like chatting to you boys. Always have. So have me again, and we'll do it again some other time.
Oh, absolutely. Down the road, we'll do this again for sure. Obviously, with the sports card world, Jordo would probably agree. There's so much to talk about, and there's so much to branch off to. Next week, I'm going over to the Sports Card Expo at the International Center. 400 plus vendors, lots of athletes going.
Yeah.
I'm going to try and move some cards, maybe buy some. A friend of mine down this way, he's just getting into sports cards, and he's looking to spend 4 or 5 grand. So I'm excited.
Woo.
Well, at least you know
And
a
he's
guy to
looking
send
into
them to.
buying some old boxes. So, and
Wow, man, yeah.
he wants to open up on the social media channel. So I'll be lucky enough to open these boxes, and hopefully there's
He's
some
gonna
cool
spend
stuff.
5 grand and let you do it?
Yeah, it's the delicate hands, man. That's what it is.
Wow.
What boxes?
Magic hand.
What boxes is he going for? Is he gonna get some sealed?
0506 Series 2
Nice.
hobby.
Nice.
I'm gonna try because he wants to get Hughes and McCarr, so
Yep.
we're gonna look into maybe doing the Cup, 1920, which would be sweet. And then he's looking at either McDavid or Matthews rookie year as well. So I don't know. It's a lot. I'm excited because sorry, Jay, it's not my money, but it's just exciting to see, and I really, really hope he pulls something crazy because there's some big opportunity right
Yeah,
there.
don't forget a good suggestion. Just looking ahead at value of cards. Series 2 when Bedard comes out, whether or not he hits or not, having a sealed box will usually yield a really great return on investment. So you look at the boxes your buddy's going to buy, and those OV boxes are pricey. The Sid boxes, the McDavid boxes. So one of these can grow in 30x, 40x value, right? So, I mean,
Do they have prices out for that Series 2 yet, or is that still
yeah,
being determined?
I'm not advertising online, so I've seen the high price so far, $249 for one box. So at Loot Kingdom, I've got you for $189.99. So don't pay me the top dollar. Okay, come see me and I'll get you.
Boom.
All right.
Love
You know
that.
where to go.
Yeah, buddy.
No, that's great. I think we'll call that there. Alex, I know you kind of got a couple things to do tonight. Like we said, man, first and foremost, thank you so much for making some time for us. That always means a lot to us. We want to try and help give back to you. Like I said, that's something that we've always preached on our end. We definitely, value having you as someone that we can trust and go to, and always having the top end product and always helping people out with your time. So thank you so much. I really appreciate that. We really appreciate that. Like I said, I'm going to try and get as many people coming your way. Alex is gracious enough for everybody listening still here. Like I said, soft dump, 15% off promo code when you go on in there. Christmas is coming, everybody. Go in, get your stocking stuffers, get your games, get your cards, get your kids into this hobby. You might pull something that will that's going to get your kid a free house one day, because we know how much the housing market is. All jokes aside, like I said, we can't thank you enough, man. We really appreciate it. We love to get you on again and get your input and your expertise, because it actually really goes a long way. And I know there's a lot of people that were listening that I'm hoping got a lot out of this and learned a lot tonight. So thanks again, man.
I appreciate it, guys. Jordan, Luke, thanks, buddy.
Yeah.
We'll talk to you guys soon.
Perfect.
Yeah, absolutely.
Been another edition of the Soft Dump in the Corner podcast presented by North 6 Sports. Till next time.